Hey everybody, my name is Saf Lori. I am a tarot card reader, and here on my YouTube channel, I like to make videos about spiritual healing modalities that have helped me in my life, and sort of talk about how you can use that in your life too, as I believe that it's a part of my soul's mission as someone who's deeply spiritual and Kundalini awakened to relate these experiences to you so that the world at large can benefit, whoever comes across these videos. So this video is going to be about emotional purging, and I'm going to be, putting it out there on my Instagram with the hashtag Venus retrograde because as somebody who follows the astrology and is really into astrology, I can see how this retrograde of Venus in Scorpio is affecting me and my life and my personal emotions and my purging. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that as a part of this video, but mostly I'm going to be talking about emotional purging in general and what it is and how to do it, how to use it as a part of your healing process. So first of all, with emotions, the body has a coping mechanism of not processing emotions right away sometimes from disturbing experiences or from, beliefs or patterns from your past. So, what happens a lot is that emotions will come up that are related to your past programming. I talk about this in my other emotional processing videos where I talk about triggers. And so basically what a trigger is an opportunity for you to see a deeper part of yourself, of your conditioning from childhood, and how you see the world, what your perspective towards the world is. Because the purging process is what allows us to sort of like cleanse ourselves of beliefs that aren't serving us, because they become sort of stored and trapped in these emotional parts of our etheric bodies, essentially, which can manifest in the physical bodies as things like stress hormones. So there's a connection there between what's happening in the ethers and what's happening in real life, in your body. So they're one and the same. They're not separate, and that's one thing that's really important to kind of put out there, is that there's like a material scientific explanation behind it all, and then there's a spiritual explanation, and they both go hand in hand, side by side, and neither one disproves the other. So I'll be having a hard time, right? I'll having a difficult time with something, in my life, and I've learned to ask myself, okay, so how do these people, the situations represent some emotion that I haven't processed yet, some emotion that I've deeply repressed? Because if that emotion, if you're still seeing that emotion as a part of you, you know, then it will show up in your life because the universe is reflecting you. So for me, situations in my life have often reflected this feeling that I'm alone, that I'm isolated, that I'm too different for people to understand or enjoy being around. And this puts me at a disadvantage. So that belief and the emotions attached to that belief were causing me to manifest experiences in my life where this continued to happen. So what I had to do was face the emotions. So trying to control the external reality, right? That's a way of avoiding the emotion. Trying to just avoid the people, avoid the triggers, that's a way of avoiding the emotion that's stored. A good example of what happened to me surrounding this issue, the first real emotional purge that I experienced, where I was aware that it was an emotional purge, was around being LGBT. Because basically, if you study chakras and everything, you'll know that the solar plexus chakra is related to the self. I was feeling this pain in my stomach, and things were happening in my life to sort of in association with this pain and the triggers around self and around my identity. So as like non-binary, and that's like, I'm like the T in LGBT. I also consider myself pansexual. So I belong to that group, I guess you could say. And with that group, with being a part of that group, there's very specific traumas and emotions associated with that trauma. So there was this knot in my stomach, and I was having a conversation with my mom, trying to explain to her about what it's like or something. I just start crying, deep, deep sobs, and so many tears, and just an extreme amount of emotions. And what I'm hearing inside of me, inside my mind while I'm crying, is all these slurs, these insults that are specifically directed at being LGBT. I won't say, but like the F slur and the T slur and like death threats and all these things were coming out of me. And I knew that it wasn't me. I knew that I wasn't the one saying these things to myself, but it was more like a perception that I had about how the world saw me, that I just kind of like had entangled and trapped inside this. And it's still there to a little bit, still there. And so you can't always like purge all of the emotions in one go. But this crying I was doing, sometimes it's yelling. Sometimes I have to go and kick a pole or, put on my gloves and punch something. And like, yeah, it's usually associated with a specific experience. So re-feeling the emotions, not avoiding it at all. Saying, being there for yourself. It's like a multifaceted process. Because when you're having the experience, it's important for you to be aware. Excuse me, aware that you're having a purging experience, so that you can visualize the pain leaving you. And you can then imagine whatever void is left there, whatever wound is there, imagine that void being filled with light. So every time you purge something, you're imagining that this healing light is coming in and helping that emotion rise and leave you. And there's some mantras that I like to use for this process. While I'm crying, I like to reassure myself, first of all, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And just say that over and over again to the inner child or whoever inner adolescent that had this experience, that where these emotions are welling from. I like to go back to the memory, visit myself in the memory, ask myself to come back to the present from that memory. So take my inner child or inner adolescent out of that. I'll even go as far as to say, any parts of me that have felt this way, come to me now. You will be cleansed and healed in this healing light, and come back to my body. So it is a multifaceted process that I use. But the key part of the process is getting all those stuck feelings to the surface. And, I had a moment of discovery last night where I realized, some of the stuff I've been talking about with, a few of my friends and everything, the whole part of the starseed journey is that isolation, that feeling of being super weird, that feeling that you don't want to be a part of mainstream society, and yet you do, because you want to be appreciated and loved. So I had this block that was like in my heart chakra and my root chakra, in my throat chakra too, because it's my truth. And so it's like, when learning about the chakras helped me to realize why I'm having pain in certain parts of my body and relating to certain issues in my life, and help me access the memories to where those emotional experiences were formed, so that I can stop repeating that cycle, so I can stop telling myself, oh, I'm too weird, nobody's ever going to like me because I'm like this kind of kooky, spiritual person. Nobody's going to like me because, blah, 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 like the list goes on. And, that's what this emotion comes from, is this belief that formed from this experience. So I go back to that experience and change it, basically. I change it through using the healing light, through calling angels and guides in, allowing those emotions to leave me peacefully without judging the emotions at all, without telling them like, you're wrong for being here. That's not the point. And the point is also not to make yourself better. There's nothing wrong with you the way you are. There's nothing wrong with your wounding other than the fact that it is causing harm to you. So you're making it clear to yourself it's okay that you have this. It's okay to let go because we're doing this for you. We're not doing this so you can be better at work or better in your relationship or better at art or whatever. We're doing this so that you can benefit and make it that clear to your inner child. Make it clear to your ego that that is the reason why you're doing this emotional cleansing and healing. I know that sometimes it's hard to get in touch with the emotions because you're afraid to feel them in the first place and you're ashamed to feel them in the first place. So I'll kind of go on a trigger hunt because what happens if I don't is it ends up showing up in my life as situations where I will get triggered, and sometimes even if it's in total divine timing and everything ends up working out in the end, it's just a lot easier for me to kind of go through and like purposefully trigger myself on certain things, like I did today. I feel so cleansed right now because I was doing a meditation, and one of the commercials came on that kind of like keyed me into like, oh my god, that's what I need to use right now, because I was searching for this root chakra blockage, all the stored emotions in my root chakra, that I know I needed to purge, and I was trying to figure out a way to do it. And there's like this advertisement that comes on the meditations. That's this a man singing this Crosby, Stills, Nash song that goes, "Come to me now, rest your head for just 5 minutes. Everything is good." And even just singing that line makes the tears start to come, because that whole song just reminds me of my childhood home. And I didn't realize why that song made me cry. I just knew that it did. So sometimes if I really wanted to cry, I would listen to that song and just start crying. And by the end of the song, I'd be done crying. And I didn't know what was up. I was just like, oh my god, this song. What the F? It's such a good song. But this time, I looked up the song and I listened to it twice in a row, and I realized it was because it reminded me of my home, of Edgewater, of the cats. And I'm starting to cry now because this house is about to be selling. It's on the market, and I'm having to integrate those experiences and bring them back, like all of the inner children that remember being in those rooms, watching my mom paint the garden, like everything. Like, I just needed to purge about it. It's like I really needed to, because part of me felt like I would just never have anything like that ever again. And the fact that my whole family could be together in the same house, and just so many good memories that I felt like I had to leave behind. So, yeah, I guess I'm still feeling it, but it was so good to just cry about it, like, and I think I might have, potentially inspired other people, because other people saw me cry for part of it, and I don't always like that. I don't like being seen, but today I decided I can't be ashamed of the emotional processes that I do. That's part of why I'm making this video, is because I released the shame around the emotional processing that I know I need to do. I am proud that I have this skill, that I know about these things. I know how to do this, and I can share this information with you. So with that, we can talk about this more as a group. Drop a comment. How do you process your emotions? I'm willing to learn different processes because it's so multidimensional. So yeah, put a comment about how you process your emotions, and that way we can all share as a group and a community. For people who like these sorts of videos, if you would like to get a tarot reading with me, which I do tarot readings that are based around emotional processing and chakra healing and things like that. So if you'd like to get a reading with me, I'm going to drop my email in the description box as well. So yeah, and like and subscribe for more content on these topics. Thank you very much. And I hope that you're able to get in touch with yourself today on some level, and blessed be. Mwah.